Hey, welcome to episode 3 of the discussions that I have with Stephen, my son. I am Robert Gurr.
And I'm Stephen.
And Stephen comes over and we sit around the dinner table, and I try to blow his mind as often as I can. And so we thought we would start these podcasts to show, see if I can blow your mind as well out there, those who are watching, and enjoy the company that we have together. So,
keep having good discussions and actually enlightening people's minds about various topics that we discuss at the dinner table. So, yeah.
Yes. And today we're going to be discussing the Mesoamerican culture, the Aztecs, and where Hill Cumorah might be.
So first,
it's a fascinating topic.
Hold on. We'll make sure we actually get our introductions in again. A little bit more about us and why we're doing this. Personally, I'm just a normal Joe, average guy. I work 5 days a week, and I have a side business where I'm streaming every so often to a community, and I have my Twitch channel shown here, twitch.tv/AmendoWeir. You can find me there, get some good feels-oriented social media and other things by coming and finding me. I am also on Twitter and other social medias, and I have merchandise as well for people who love dragons like I do, or just other good feels and good people to be around.
And it's fun to watch you. I've watched your streaming on Twitch, and it's very entertaining to watch you play games and to do things and interact with your audience. So if you're into gaming, go check out his Twitch channel, because it's pretty fun. And this is kind of a follow-up with a presentation that I did back a few months ago with the evidences that are in the Book of Mormon. And I've posted that link down below in the comments, or in the section in YouTube. So you can see that. Click on that. This is kind of a follow-up to that. So a lot of this is, you have to have a basic understanding of what that is. I will go through a lot of these things again. But to really understand and get a good grasp of the Mesoamerican people, it's a wonderful starter that I suggest go and click on that link and watch that.
Click on the link down below in the About section. Make sure that you know what's going on in this video, because you have to know A to B.
That's
right. If you don't know A, you're not going to know what we're talking about right now.
So also, if you're interested and I give you some information that just kind of blows your mind, that you can use, that you learn from, please donate to our channel and help us to succeed in doing this, so that we can continue doing this and continue bringing these types of information to you. So let's go ahead and jump into it. What do you say?
Let's get going.
All right. So I want to start off first. This is the crest of the Mesoamerican flag. Of the Mexican flag. This is the crest of Mexico, and it's on their flag. So you have this picture, which is a picture of a bird eating a snake, an eagle eating a snake, standing on top of a prickly pear cactus. Now, what most people don't know is, where did this come from? So I have a couple of books that I've been reading. The first one, these are by Diego Duran, and the first one is The History of the Indies of New Spain. Okay.
History of the Indies of New Spain. Okay.
By Diego Duran. Another book that I have, so I got this a long time ago. This is called Book of the Gods and Rites in the Ancient Calendar. And again, it's by Diego Duran. This book I got used several years ago, and it was around $40 at the time. This book right now on Amazon is selling for $500. So it's not a book that you can just go out and get. But
so hold on, why is it $500 now?
$500. hey, I guess what the things I've been teaching, they're getting out there, and people are wanting to double check this work because it's
Okay.
an amazing topic with Topilson and how he brought the ancient Toltecs, the evangelical law, as Durant calls it. He brought them Christianity, and he taught them Christianity. So,
Mm.
what is this picture here of an eagle eating a snake? There was a priest. This is after the events of the Book of Mormon, you could say. There was a priest who he had this vision, and he went and he told the people this vision, and he says, we need to find where an eagle is standing on top of a prickly pear cactus eating a snake. And it is there that we will create our civilization. And so uh, it was this big prophecy, and they said, okay, yeah, we're going to go look for this. And eventually they came back to this area where they found an eagle standing on a prickly pear cactus eating a snake. And this prickly pear cactus was in the water. You can kind of see the land down here. There was a little bit of land, and it was in this water. And they decided, okay, that this was the prophesied place of where they were going to start their civilization. And so they created a city, Tenochtitlan, which is the capital of Mexico. And
Yes.
or the capital of the Aztecs, and it was the capital of the Aztecs for centuries. So what this thing doesn't show, though, is it's not. It leaves out something pretty peculiar. What it leaves out is what the prickly pear cactus was actually growing out of, or where it came from. There's a history behind the prickly pear cactus and where it sprang from, out in the middle of this water, out in the middle of the lake that was there.
Okay.
This is called the Teocalli of Sacred War. And while it's kind of hard to see, you can kind of see up here, there's a bird. Well, if we trace this, what we get is something that looks like this. And you can kind of see it's a little more clear. You have a bird here.
There's the prickly pears. Yeah.
But there's also something down here.
Wait. That looks like a person wearing some sort of robes.
That is a person.
So this prickly pear cactus sprang from this person?
This prickly pear cactus sprang from actually, this is a heart right here, and we'll show you. So you can see his head right here, and you can see, that it's kind of growing out of this guy's body, but it's really his heart is what this is representing.
Let's see, I'm counting here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, that might be significant.
10, you mean
10 flowers.
10 flowers. I don't know what the significance of the 10 flowers is, but you can kind of see this is another picture of this, a colorized picture of it, but it's missing his head, right? So we don't know where his head went in this picture, but we do have it here in this picture taken from the stone. So we see that this guy's name is Kopil. And Kopil, here we see another pretty plain graphic of a guy, and this prickly pear cactus is growing out of him. And what we also see here is this is a representation of their god Huitzilopochtli. Now, Huitzilopochtli told them to go. They were Christians. They were the Toltecs, and they were starting to get in this battle, this war. They were in this war, and Huitzilopochtli was guiding them during this time. So what I want to do real quick is let's go to your screen, Stephen, and I want to read about Huitzilopochtli real quick. So if you can click on that. So this is Encyclopedia Britannica. And what does it say about Huitzilopochtli? Can you read that?
Aztec sun and war. What? Are you there?
Okay. Yeah, right. Yeah, start at the very top.
Okay. Also spelled Huitzilopochtli, also called Zwipili, the turquoise prince, and Totec, our lord. He's the Aztec sun and war god, one of two principal deities of Aztec religion, often represented in art as either a hummingbird or an eagle.
Okay. So let's
Yeah.
go back real quick. So here we have a direct link to, remember what Tolpiltsin was named? Tolpiltsin? He was called our
Quetzalcoatl.
Lord.
Yeah.
And here we have Totec, which is very similar. So the Toltecs were named after following Tolpiltsin.
Toltecs
right?
must have meant then they are the Lord's people.
They are the Lord's people. So we have a direct link.
Toltec.
Totec and Toltec. It's basically it's the same word. It's just spelled different. So he is the man. He is Tolpiltsin who brought to them Christianity. Now let's go ahead and read that the name.
Huitzilopochtli's name is a cognate of the Nahuatl words Huitzilin, which is hummingbird, and Opichli, left.
Nice try. That's fine. It doesn't matter.
Opochli. Aztecs believed that dead warriors were reincarnated as hummingbirds and considered the south to be the left side of the world. Thus, his name meant the resuscitated warrior of the south. His other names included...
Okay, that's good enough.
Yeah.
This book that I have, if you recall, this book, it talks about Huitzilopochtli. And he describes the Huitzelbird. And the Huitzelbird, what it does is it burrows into a tree in the wintertime.
Okay.
And it hibernates. During the hibernation, it takes the nutrients from the tree.
Yeah.
And it survives on the tree. But the Indians, or the native Mesoamericans, they basically said that it looked like it was dead. It was a dead bird, and during the hibernation, and then in the springtime, it would fly away, right?
Yeah.
So we have a direct reference here that Huitzilopochtli is named after this bird, the Huitzelbird, the Huitzel hummingbird. And this bird is a dead bird, comes back to life as a reborn bird. And Huitzilopochtli was the reborn god. He died, and he came back to life. And so here, when we look at your screen again, this is Huitzilopochtli, and it's talking about how he was the resuscitated warrior of the South. He was the reborn god. Who does that remind us of?
Jesus.
I mean, it's the same person. Jesus came and visited them. He was Huitzilopochtli. They corrupted his name. They corrupted his legend. And what we have, though, is the remaining corruption of what he is. And he was Totec. He was the lord of the Toltecs. And he was Lord.
Okay.
So,
yeah, I mean, it makes complete sense. And the fact that this is included in their own legends, it's pretty obvious.
Yes, it is very obvious, especially once you start understanding it. So what we have here, let's get back to presentation. So here we have Huitzilopochtli, and he was their guide as they left Aztlan all the way through their history. And they basically, like I say, they've corrupted him, so he's now the god of war. He wasn't the god of war. He was their promised leader, their promised Messiah, and he guided them. He killed. So he told them that the Toltecs, he told the Toltecs that you need to prepare for war. You're going to be having this army come against you. And it was actually Copil who led the army against them. All right.
And
Copil's
the bad guy, but he's the one lying there.
Copil's the bad guy. He's the one lying there.
Okay.
So Huitzilopochtli says, prepare for war. You're going to have an army come against you, and we need to go and defend a hill. Okay. And so what they did was they went to
Hill. He said hill.
He said hill. He said, go and defend Hill Chapultepec, which is Grasshopper Hill. Grasshopper Hill. Go and defend that. Build up walls. Make sure that you can, defend it. Put your women and children. In fact, there's a really, in this book here again, it talks about how they defend this hill by building up walls. They get arrows and they get swords, and they get all ready for war. So Copil, he's coming, he's going around to all these people and all their enemies, and he's riling up their enemies, and he's saying, okay, we're going to go and wipe these people out. Well, they come against the Toltecs. The Toltecs come, or the people come against the Toltecs, and they repel the first wave. Now, what's interesting is during when they repelled them the first time, Huitzilopochtli told the leaders where to find Copil. Okay, and they killed him. They killed him during the first wave, the first battle, and they took him and they cut open his chest and they took his heart out and they took it and they threw it out in the middle of the lake. And from that heart that they threw out in the middle of the lake, a prickly pear cactus grew. Now, the second time, the enemy was so angry that they killed Copil, and they came and they attacked again. They attacked the hill, and they wiped out the Toltecs. Millions of Toltecs were killed in all these battles. 3.5 million, they estimate. And so this battle then is where they defended a hill, killed off the Toltecs. Copil was dead. Out of his heart grew this prickly pear cactus, which later they came back
for the
and found a eagle eating a snake on top of this prickly pear cactus. So that's where it comes from.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is the Mexican flag.
This is the Mexican flag. Yes.
Wow.
Now, this is different because here we have, this is their entire history, basically, from their migration from Aztlan over here to, what do we see? If we blow that up, we see Grasshopper Hill, right?
Yeah.
And over here, we see the battle, and they were all killed, and there was this big battle, and so we see this theme over and over again in their histories. Here we have the Codex Bortorini, which we have Grasshopper Hill, and we also see that these Toltecs here, the Toltecs they're not warrior-like, they're peaceful, they're priests. So this is a war of religion, and here we have Grasshopper Hill again up here, with a war and a sacrifice. And this could be Copil's sacrifice. I don't know. But this right here is a representation of war. It's got a sword and a shield. And they were cut off.
They were encircled about with the footsteps.
Yeah. And so, but this all took place on Grasshopper Hill. And then you have really sad Toltecs because they lost. They lost the battle. And that's where the Toltecs disappeared and were wiped out from. Here we have another one, Grasshopper Hill. We have over here, we have Huitzilopochtli. He's the little hummingbird over the priest. We have the priest, the Toltecs. We have all the armies of the enemies coming against them. Now, what's interesting is this picture actually shows a stream coming out of Hill Chapultepec. And there is a spring on Hill Chapultepec, a spring with a stream coming out of the hill. And here's another one. And we actually see Cerro de Chapultepec, which is mountain of Chapultepec. And we have a grasshopper. We have the stream. We have Huitzilopochtli up here. We have the Toltecs and all the enemy armies against them coming to battle. So this was the last battle of the Toltecs. Now, where did this take place? Well, here's Hill Chapultepec today as it looks from the air.
In Mexico City.
In Mexico City. Here's another view.
That's
City.
Definitely a hill.
It's a hill. That is a hill. And here it is again. But what is missing?
Well,
where's
the lake?
The water? Where's the lake?
I mean, there's a lot of trees there, and there's a little bit of water, but there should have been
no water
there. A lot of water. That's not what they describe it as. Where's the water?
Yeah, they described they chopped out or they cut out Copel's heart and they threw it in the lake, right? And then out of the water.
that over there in that picture, it shows a pond. That's not
tiny little pond way up there. Well,
nah.
The lake that existed here, the entire area of Mexico City lies in a volcanic caldera, and all of the water runs into the bottom. Well, the problem is that Mexico City has been using more water than what is drained into the valley. So that lake is gone. But what it used to look like was right here. Right here, this was Chapultepec. Okay, this little tiny area right down here, this hill is Chapultepec. And there was this huge lake, goes 120 kilometers north to south and 80 kilometers east and west.
It's a lot of water.
So it's a vast lake. Well, this kind of looks like a land of many water, rivers, and fountains, don't you think?
Yeah, there's a lot of water there.
There's a lot of water there. This lake is gone.
That's what they would have described it as. You said many waters. There's
waters.
A lot of water there. In fact, even if Tenochtitlan was built on like one of the islands of the lake, there would be a lot of waterways that they were using. They used the water. It was many waters to them. Like
it was.
So I'm thinking about this in historical context as we're progressing through this, and just like, what would the people describe it as in their terms and in what they know about, sciences and how the world works. And obviously, if their description was many waters, this would be a very apt and appropriate way of doing it.
Exactly. Yes, that is exactly right. So here we have, this is the basin of Mexico. Like I say, it's a volcanic caldera. And what's important to understand, so I'm going to go back a little bit. This is the history of what happened before. Remember, this is the battle here, right? This is the battle of Hill Chapultepec, Grasshopper Hill. And we see this Grasshopper Hill in motifs all over the place. But where did they start? They started over here. Grasshopper Hill is over here. So they started in a place with water. And actually, if we zoom in here, what does that look like right there?
It's kind of hard to tell, but it looks like someone reaching up from some sort of canoe or boat.
A boat. It looks like a boat, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is Aztlan. This is where the Toltecs originally left from Aztlan. And what's important is we see this motif all over too. We see Aztlan being surrounded by water with a boat. They had to leave Aztlan by boat. Okay. All right. Here we have another one. This is Aztlan. This is their homeland. And they had to leave by boat. They had to leave by ship. Now, Isla Xochitl, he's a historian right around the year 1600. Isla Xochitl, he was an Aztec prince and a Spanish Catholic at that time. And he tells us, he says that they left Aztlan and they came by ship. Here we see another one. This is Aztlan here.
These codexes, that's the word that she used, is they left.
They left by ship. They came by ship.
Okay.
And we see this all over the place. We see another, here they came by ship. Well, today, scholars believe that Aztlan is in the southwest United States. They believe that it's somewhere up here in, Arizona, Utah, New Mexico, Colorado area, somewhere here. They believe that Aztlan was somewhere up here.
In the most arid part of the continent?
Yeah. This is what scholars teach today. Okay, this is what scholars believe today because they've rewritten history. We see the rewriting of history.
They believe make any sense.
that Aztlan was here somewhere in the United States, southwestern United States, and they came by ship.
Nah.
You're not going to get, even if you were to come over here, why would you come over here and go down here when you could just travel? You could just, walk there. We have people.
Why is there
migrate.
a boat and not people walking?
Yeah. So you can walk to Mexico from southwestern United States. You cannot walk to Mexico if you're separated by an ocean.
In ancient history, people who were, traveling and spreading, their civilizations, they did not use boats to do that.
They didn't.
Boats were if you were leaving somewhere, you weren't going back.
And Isla Xochitl says that they made a ship and they traveled along the coastlines of the continents and they followed the sun. So if you're following the sun, you're going to be traveling east towards the sunrise, and you're going to be going by ship. And if these are the Nephites left from Israel, right? And they came by ship. They could have easily have followed the coastline all the way around until they got to the Mesoamerican area.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
This is a little bit mind-blowing there. A little bit.
It is, especially when we see that, the scholars are rewriting history. We see that. And when we look at the earliest histories, that's not what we see. They're
Diego Duran and the historical documents that they got earlier than these people writing anything. Because didn't you say that was also a book that was recently translated into English?
Yes, these books that I'm talking about were not translated into English until the 1970s. Yeah, and some books are still in Spanish.
So we have all these books, all this information about our history in Mesoamerica here, and nobody knows it because it's not been translated and released to anyone to read.
That's part of it. That is.
I want to go and see some of the archives that are not translated. I want to have that translated, and I want to see what's up. I want to know what these friars and early settlers brought back.
Yeah. Well, you can read some of them now, but people like Molina and others, I can't remember all their names right now, but they have not been translated into English yet. So these are relatively, we get from Mesoamerican scholars or Mexican scholars who know Spanish, but they're rewriting history. So, it's kind of sad. Here's another problem. So they claim that the Toltecs came down somehow from ship, and they stopped here at Tula. So we can see Tula, right? Now the Toltecs, Tula was destroyed. I was telling you about this war that they were in, and Huitzilopochtli told them to go to defend Hill Chapultepec, right?
Yeah.
So Tula, as we know from history, gets wiped out. It gets totally destroyed. And the people from Tula, it says in the history books that they went from Tula to basically Veracruz. Now, if this is Tula right here, and you're going to Veracruz, that's over here by the ocean.
Yeah.
Why would they ever go back to the Valley of Mexico and Hill Chapultepec, which is right smack in the middle of their enemies' armies?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not the brightest general in the world, but
that's a lot of territory.
You have to be a really stupid general to run away from the city, from the enemies that's trying to destroy you, to run away from Veracruz and then right back into their arms, which is the Valley of Mexico, which is it's right there. Why would you do that? This is what we have.
Even if you had all right, so even if you, because history has taught me much about motion of military forces, even if they did have to go to Veracruz and then go back to defend a hill, you were force marching even over a period of 2-3 years, getting a number of people. You said around 3 million, 2.5 million, 3.5 million, somewhere. It was a large number of people. Mm-hmm. You're moving your entire civilization that far? No. You are defending what is remaining.
It's not the moving people around. I can see moving 3.5 million people around, but what I can't see is going from Tula here to Veracruz and then back. Why would you go back?
Yeah, why wouldn't you just defend closer to home?
That is evidence that scholars are rewriting history, because if Tula is now down here in South America, not South America, beyond the Isthmus of Tehuantepec, say it's in Tikal. Yeah, and I'm just throwing this out. It might have been Palenque. It might have been somewhere. Tula was most likely down here. And then if they're being chased by an enemy and they're running to Veracruz, then you can go to the Valley of Mexico.
Then you can go to the Valley of Mexico to Tenochtitlan.
Tenochtitlan or Hill Chapultepec.
Hill Chapultepec. That is your last stand. That is, you have no more territory to give. Your civilization has pretty much ended northward of there. All you have is barren desert.
Exactly. So, I'm not the smartest general in the world, but that's what I would do. I'd be running away. I wouldn't be going back and leading my people back into the arms of my enemies. Why
You're retreating.
would they do that? So this is what scholars are doing. They're rewriting history because they're dumb generals. I'm sorry, but they're just idiot generals.
Historians are not generals and military leaders.
So I think Tula was down here in the Mayan area. They were destroyed and they were running for their lives. They came up here to Veracruz and they came over here to defend Hill Chapultepec, and they were wiped out as a civilization. The end of the Toltecs. Then, if you remember, the end of the Toltecs, they threw Copel's heart out there. The Toltecs were basically destroyed, wiped out, but there were people who survived, and they ran away.
Defectors,
and then,
basically just denounce your previous loyalties and join us. That happens.
Yes, that's exactly what happened. And then they came back into the Valley of Mexico as the Aztecs, or as the Mexica people, and they started to build the Aztec civilization.
Okay.
And this is what we have. So that makes better sense to me. I'm just,
No, logically that does. I don't, especially when we first combined it by saying they arrived by ship, and from the north, no, you would have just walked.
Yeah. So they would have arrived down here in the Guatemala area, the Maya area, and then they would have migrated all over. They would have filled this entire area, and we'll get to that, in fact. So this is the lake. This is Lake Texcoco. This is where I believe the Hill Cumorah is, because it matches the history. I've never seen any LDS scholar go to the history of the Toltecs or any other civilization and tried to match the battles that existed within the Toltecs and the Aztec civilizations. So they were the Toltecs, they were wiped out, and they became the Aztecs later, just like the Nephites were destroyed. Now, where is this at? If you look at on a bigger map, we can see this little area right here. It's kind of hard to see, but there's the lake right there. Okay, land of
And
many
a few
waters.
mountains, and big lake.
And as we see, this is kind of a
You said it was
larger
a
area.
Yeah, you said it was a volcanic delta, or
volcanic
caldera. And the mountains support that. I mean, leading the lowest point towards that lake.
So this right here, as we start to see, this was the area of their civilization, the extent of their civilization. Now, these people, they were called the Nahua. And I want to go to your screen again.
All right.
Pull up
Anahuac.
Anahuac. This is the Anahuac. Now, first of all, before you get too far down.
Yeah.
If you take off the A and the C, what do you have? If you take off the A, the beginning A, and the ending C, what do you have? So scroll up.
Nahua.
Nahua. Yeah.
Nahuatl.
The Nahuatl people. The Nahuatl people get their name from the Anahuac. Now, the Anahuac is basically, if you read this, go ahead and read this. This is interesting.
Anahuac is the ancient core of Mexico. It is the Nahuatl name, which means close to water. It can be broken down like this. Atl and Nahuac. Atl means water, and Nahuac, which is a relational word that it can be affixed to a noun, so it means close to. So therefore, Atl being water, you have close to water. Okay. Anahuac is sometimes used interchangeably with the Valley of Mexico, but Anahuac, properly designates the south central part of the valley, where well-developed pre-Hispanic culture traits had created distinctive landscapes now hidden by the urban sprawl of Mexico City. In the sense of modern geomorphological terminology, Valley of Mexico is misnamed.
So the Valley of Mexico would have been the Anahuac. That's what it would have been. Now, what's really interesting is scroll all the way down now.
All the way down.
All the way down. Oh, I'm sorry. That's way too far. Back up. Okay, right there. One of the possible etymologies proposed
for the name is Nicaragua. It is derived from any of the following Nahuatl words, meaning Nick Anahuac, which meant Anahuac reached this far, or the Nahuas came this far, or those who come from Anahuac came this far, which would be Nikanahua, which meant here are the Nahuas, or Nikatl Nahuac, which meant here by the water or surrounded by water. The first two explanations would have a bearing on the above issue of the borders. That's cool, because I love saying this is where they came, or this is how far they were. That is a word that would be used in their terminology in their time. That's pretty cool.
That is. So what we see here is we see the boundaries of the people of the Nahua. The Nahuatl comes from Anahuac. They were the people who lived by many waters.
Mm-hmm.
And if we go one step further here, we can actually see that down here, they extended clear down into Nicaragua.
Yeah, you would stay near the coast because there's water. Mm-hmm.
So this could very easily be the height of the Nephite civilization, because they expanded into the borders of the land of many waters, rivers, and fountains. and that was like the remainder. That was where they, like, their last stand. So you would call them by that type of people, right?
Yep. Yep.
We might call them the Toltecs. We might call them the Teotihuacanos is another name that they might have been referred to as.
Okay.
But overall, I think that the Anahuac people were all over this area, and we see that. So now, when we start thinking of okay, so we have the Book of Mormon, right?
Mhm.
And we start thinking, well, where could it possibly be? Because I believe that it's there, but other people aren't convinced, or I mean, well, I don't think they know this model yet. I don't
Yeah,
think people
I don't think
understand.
that they've seen this history
They
and
haven't seen the history.
read what you've
So,
read.
Yeah. So what we have is other histories, and I can't remember why I have this map up. So anyway, so let's examine one of the first things that when we try to think of where could the Hill Cumorah be.
All right.
Is it in upstate New York? Is it somewhere else? We have to look at the Book of Mormon itself and find out, do we know from the Book of Mormon, can we tell where the Book of Mormon was?
Can we kind of align the histories that we've laid out with the histories of the Book of Mormon?
Exactly. So the first thing we have to come across is snow. Now, the Lamanites, they were naked. Are you going to be naked in snow?
Well, if you are, you're not living long.
Exactly. And we know from recent
doesn't work.
we know from recent winters, just recently, it froze down in Texas. It froze as far down as Texas. If you were to take snow and place it, if you were to take the Lamanites and try to place them anywhere in the United States, you've got snow. You're not going to survive long in snow, even if you lived in Texas or Florida or way down there. So is it possible that the Hill Cumorah could be in New York? I'm not finding much evidence for that. And snow is probably one of the biggest evidence.
Not a civilization of 3.5 million people getting wiped out.
Yeah. It just doesn't make
happen.
sense.
It doesn't make sense. There's too much cold energy to support life that much. So if you look at the other breadbasket of the world, where is it? It's in the Mediterranean, right? You have how many people living around the Mediterranean where there's not much snow?
Exactly.
It's
warm. It's temperate.
You can cool off people easier than you can warm them up. So
yes,
if you were to put a huge civilization in the North American continent, you're going to get less people overall. You're not going to have much of a civilization. You would have tribes, and you would have basically wandering parties. You'd have sort of a Mongolian-esque traveling and moving from place to place. You wouldn't have cities.
Exactly. So, yeah, snow kind of wipes out the North American model. It's also called the Heartland model. I think snow itself kind of destroys that model. I can't reconcile the two. So I don't know.
Not with naked Lamanites.
Not with naked Lamanites. So what we have here, this is number 2. Are you able to read that? Can you read Moroni 2, 28, 29?
In the 350th year, we made a treaty with the Lamanites and the robbers of Gadianton, in which we did get the lands of our inheritance divided. And the Lamanites did give unto us the land northward, yea, even the narrow passage which led into the land southward. And we did give unto the Lamanites all the land southward.
All the land southward, and they took all the land northward. Now, where is this narrow neck of land that that if it's in the northeastern part of the United States, where is this narrow neck of land that they're talking about?
Michigan.
If they gave all of the land narrow neck south to the Lamanites, they're in Canada.
No. They
They're in
can't survive in
Canada.
Canada. Yeah, no, it doesn't work.
So they're having to say that that the Hill Cumorah was in the northern part. It was in the northern part of the land, and they gave all the southern part of the land to the Lamanites. So they just gave Hill Cumorah in New York to the Lamanites.
To
all
the
right?
enemy.
To the enemy.
Okay, and here's the other problem. If that was the agreement, you just killed your enemies. You can't support that many people without, technology and the heating we've got heating our homes. You can't do that in Canada. You didn't have 3.5 million civilization cities in
Well,
Canada.
if there was,
I mean,
okay,
like a
you probably could.
large number. Okay, it's
No, hang
not
on.
going to be easy, and
You
nor
probably
would
could, but you're going to leave evidence of it.
Yeah, you would leave evidence of it. And
If
I
you
don't think
had a
you go
huge
in there as a
civilization.
Lamanite naked. You just say, let's just keep going south. There's plenty of space.
Yeah. Yeah. Those like naked Lamanites, they're not going to last long. We'll just give it to them anyway. So, yeah, I am not seeing how Hill Cumorah could be in New York.
No.
But if we see, okay, so like I said, if Zarahemla, if Tula was in the Yucatan Peninsula somewhere, and they gave all of the land south of that to the Lamanites, then what you have is you can have all this northland, right? You can have it all north. You can run away.
Yeah, you can run away. You can actually have a proper border to defend. You have this narrow neck of land that you could put fortifications across. As I look at the other maps, I did see some like narrow passages with mountains. So you could actually have fortified cities, which, if I remember correctly from the other maps of Mexico and Guatemala, there are evidences of cities in those jungles.
Yes. Yes, they found they're using LiDAR radar now, and they are finding massive cities around here. Massive cities, 60,000 people and bigger. You get, all it would take is 20 cities, and you've got
a civilization in the millions. Yeah. So if you're retreating, this is where you would go, and it makes sense if the Lamanites are naked.
Yes, if the Lamanites are naked, they can chase you all over down here because there's no snow that's going to stop you. So, all right. So when researching the Hill Cumorah, there's a guy named Palmer who wrote a book, and he came up with basically these 13 qualifications for the Hill Cumorah. And we're going to be going over some of these. Now, first of all, he says that Hill Cumorah was near a narrow neck of land. This is number 2. I'm starting with number 2 and number 3. It says number 2 and number 3, it was on a narrow neck of land, and it was on a coastal plain and possibly near other mountains and valleys. Now, he there's these verses that kind of show this. However, we can automatically take these off because it doesn't say anything of the sort. None of those talk about Hill Cumorah being near a narrow neck of land. In fact, it talks about it being away, and we'll talk about a little more about that because what these verses are describing is the land of desolation. It literally talks about the land of desolation and how the area was desolate, how the plains, there was these huge civilizations, and there's all these people that lived there, but they were destroyed. So the land of desolation, that's what numbers 2 and 3 are. So let's look at number 1. Go ahead and let's read Ether 9, verse 3.
And the Lord warned Omer in a dream that he should depart out of the land. Wherefore Omer departed out of the land with his family and traveled many days. and came over and passed by the hill of Shim.
Okay, wait. Okay, stop right there. So wherever he was, let me give you a little bit of background here. Omer was a king, and his son was trying to come against him, and the Lord warned him that you need to run away because your son is going to kill you and try to take over your kingdom. So the Lord warned Omer, and Omer takes off. He goes running.
He's like, okay, we gotta go. And came over and passed by the hill of Shim, which, if we remember previously in the chapters before this in the Book of Mormon, inside the Book of Mormon, that this is the place where the Lord deposited the sacred engravings of the people. This is where all the history of the Nephites was deposited.
This is where, so Hill Shem, Amaron, was it Amaron, took the plates.
Yes.
And what he did is he was the last prophet, and he came to Mormon, and Mormon was only 10 years old. And he says, I perceive that thou art a sober child. And he says, go to the Hill Shem, because that's where I deposit all the plates. All right. So this is the same Hill Shem.
Yes.
He had to pass by Hill Shem.
Yes.
All right. So, okay. Then
and
go on over
by the place where the Nephites were destroyed, and from thence eastward, and came to a place which was called Ablum, by the seashore.
So hang on. So he passed by Hill Shem, and then he found the place where the Nephites were destroyed. Where were the Nephites destroyed?
Cumorah.
Cumorah. So you had to go
past Shem
to Cumorah, and then he went east to the seashore, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now I'm going to show you, this is called the Sorensen model. And the Sorensen model says that Hill Cumorah is right around here near La Venta, which is, there's a land of many waters, rivers, and fountains right here. Okay.
Yeah.
This is what most LDS scholars kind of are. This is like their modern theory. This is current day theories with the within the LDS community. The LDS community says Hill Cumorah in Mexico is right here next to the Gulf of Mexico, right here by the Isthmus of Tehuantepec, right?
Yeah.
And so they say that it's one of these mountains right here in this little mountain range. Now, if you were Omer, and say you're living around here in the land of desolation, and we'll get here because desolation is down here. It's up against the Gulf of Mexico.
Yeah.
If you were living in desolation, and you go past Hill Shem, can you go east to the ocean? Are you going to be hiding from your son if he's chasing you, and you go from the land of many waters right here, and you go east to the ocean?
That's back into the arms of your enemy. Are you going to hide from your son?
You're going right back into the arm. You're right back into the arms of your enemies. I mean, come on. I am not the most brilliant of generals here, but I do know that if you go east from here, you are heading right back into the arms of your enemies, which you just don't do when you're running away. Right?
Not everyone's a thief and D&D.
Yeah, you're not going to hide. You're not going to hide from your enemies right there.
In the midst of them, you're going to be running away.
Yeah. So if we go to the idea that Omer is running away and he passes Hill Shem. Now, this could actually be Hill Shem. It's possible. I don't know. There's other hills that are kind of along the way to the Valley of Mexico.
There's a lot of mountainous region there.
Yes.
So, I mean, it makes sense if you're on your way there. And remember, he's not writing everything. He's writing the most necessary things.
That's right. So, and he's writing it in a concise way.
Yes.
So if he comes over here to Lake Texcoco and he nears the place somewhere around here where the Nephites were destroyed, if it's Hill Chapultepec, then you can go from here past Hill Shim and you can go east
to the
to
seashore.
the seashore.
Mm-hmm.
And
there were if you're running away and you go there, there's something you had to pick up or you had to learn something about what happened to the people, then you head east. You're going to go there's going to be ways to get there that is not necessarily just walking. There's
Exactly.
riverways. As soon as you pass those mountains, it's going to be a free shot to the seashore.
What's kind of cool is that here there's a natural mountain here, if you want to call it, that kind of separates these two areas. And this mountain, if you come over here to Mexico City and go east, you can come up here and you're protected by this mountain range here.
That's a natural barrier. If they're looking for you and they go towards Veracruz, for example, then they're like, he probably didn't make it this far. We have to find him. He's somewhere in our own territory.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense to me. It's a pretty logical explanation.
So we see that that works. So if we go back to number 1, it was near an eastern seashore. This one does not work in either model. I mean, it kind of does if you want to look at, let's find a map here for, so if you come here to New York and you go past, you can kind of go east and run away, but you know, it just,
we already went through with snow. We're like, this don't make sense anyway.
Yeah. All right. So the next thing here, let's see. Okay. Yeah. So kind of rules out the Sorensen model. Rules out the idea where that that Cumorah could be right here next to the ocean, because it doesn't make sense.
Because that lake over there, the one that the Sorensen model, that is still there, but the lake that is dried up
is a lake. It's a land of many waters, rivers, and fountains. This is just a lake, right? That's not really a land of many waters. It's just a lake. So, all right. Let's go to the next thing. So let's read Helaman 3 through 11. Can you read that?
We're still live, yeah? Hold on. The stream died for me, so where are we at? Helaman 3? Yes.
Yes.
And it came to pass in the 46th, yea, there was much contention and many dissensions, in the which there were an exceedingly great many who departed out unto the land of Zarahemla, and went forth unto the land northward to inherit the land.
Oh, you're breaking up.
And they did travel to an exceedingly great distance. Sorry, I don't know what's going on with my internet. And they did travel to an exceedingly great distance, insomuch that they came to a large bodies of water and many rivers.
Okay.
We get it.
So here we have this this idea that Zarahemla needs to be down here somewhere, right? And they came and they found the narrow neck of land somewhere up here, somewhere. The land of many waters, rivers, and fountains.
Okay, I mean, there is a lot of water up there.
There's a lot of water up there.
Big water.
There's not a lot of water right there.
Water. Yeah.
But there is a lot of water right here.
Yeah, that's 100. You said 120 kilometers, right?
120 kilometers north to south. Yep. Big lake.
Big caldera.
Mm-hmm. Now, this is where people kind of get confused. So what happens is it ends here. They find this land of many waters, rivers, and fountains. And then when we go to verse 4, or verse 5, I'm sorry. So we read 3 and 4.
Yes.
It says, yea, and even they did spread forth into all parts of the land. Now, this has two meanings. Okay, this can mean that, well, yeah, they just spread into the land of many water, rivers, and fountains. I don't think it means that. I think it means that they started to inhabit, they spread over all of the land, including desolation. So I think this verse is talking about desolation, because when we start reading the next part, what does it say?
It says, into whatever parts it had not been rendered desolate and without timber, because of the many inhabitants who had before inherited the land, and now no part of the land was desolate, save it were for timber. So this
All
goes
right.
back previous into the Book of Mormon, where we're reading about the previous civilization to the
Mhm.
Toltecs, the Nephites, and
You mean the
they made their
Jaredites?
land the Jaredites. Yes, I do mean the Jaredites. Before I meant before the Nephites. Um,
Hmm.
the Jaredites killed themselves off. They had so much warring and contention, and they used every resource and had made the land desolate.
So people think that, well, this is like a desert, right? No, it just says that it was desolate because they cut down all the trees, and um, because of all the people that were dead. It was desolate because they were all the dead people there, not because it was an arid desert or a place where it was uninhabitable. It
Okay.
was just desolate. So this is the desolation part. So if you keep going,
All right. But because of the greatness of the destruction of the people who had before inhabited the land, it was called desolate, and there being but little timber upon the face of the land, nevertheless the people who went forth became exceedingly expert in the working of cement. Therefore they did build houses of cement, in which they did dwell. And it came to pass that they did multiply and spread, and did go forth from the land southward to the land northward, and did spread
okay.
in so
So
much.
let's kind of stop right there. So cement. Do we see any cement houses up here in anywhere up in the Northeast United States and Canada? Remember, we're talking about Canada now, because this is the land of desolation, right? And they were northward. They gave all the land southward to the Nephites. They were in into land desolation and north. Are
No.
there any
Mm-mm.
cement houses in Canada? No.
All adobe is much further south. Okay.
Now, we
And
do see
cement,
cement houses all over here. LIDAR
cement
is showing
buildings,
cement buildings, cement houses, cement
cement
temples
temples, everything. It's made of
everywhere.
cement. That's why we can see it.
Yep. All right. Go ahead and continue.
From the sea south to the sea north, and from the sea west to the sea east. And the people who were in the land northward did dwell in tents and in houses of cement. And they did suffer whatsoever tree should spring up upon the face of the land, that it should grow up, that in time they might have timber to build their houses, yea, their cities and their temples and their synagogues and their sanctuaries, and all manner of their buildings. And it came to pass, as timber was exceedingly scarce in the land northward, arid desert, they did send forth much by the way of shipping.
Okay. Oh, stop right there. Are there any shipping lanes here? Can you ship from the land of Zarahemla down here, wherever it is, to the land of desolation up here in Canada?
Which makes no sense because there's plenty of trees there.
If they were wiped out and they used up all the trees, maybe. But you're right. I mean, trees grow back very, very quickly in Canada.
That's why there are trees there.
That's why there are trees there.
No, there's not any shipping lanes. I mean, like if you're even trying to use the Mississippi River, you're going way out of your way.
Not only
Way out
that,
of your way.
but these, if you're trying to ship it through, um,
The
the lakes. First of all, the water is running this way. Okay,
Yeah.
it's running from north down this way, and then here you have the huge St. Lawrence Causeway, which is a massive, massive river. I mean, we know Niagara Falls, right? Think of the water pouring over Niagara Falls, right? This is the water.
Yeah, you're not shipping over Niagara Falls.
Exactly. Yep.
And there's no evidence of anything to say that they shipped over Niagara Falls or had some sort of civilization so advanced and knowledgeable about these things, about the reasons for these things, the desire for these things present there.
Yes. So go ahead and finish reading the rest.
And it came to pass and thus they did enable the people of the land northward that they might build many cities, both of wood and of cement.
Okay.
I don't see them doing this in North America. Yeah, we've just so much logic points against it.
Now, if this area here had been stripped of trees, you could actually ship with. There's a lot of rivers, in fact.
Yeah. Along the isthmus?
Yeah. There's a lot of rivers.
There's a lot of riverways there. That's why it's so green.
Let's see. Did I have a map? Have a picture of that? I guess I don't have a picture, but yeah, there are all kinds of rivers. You can ship trees. You can even, I don't know that it was talking about shipping things to the land of the Valley of Mexico.
Tenochtitlan.
Yeah. But so we don't know a whole lot about that. I don't think it was talking about the Valley of Mexico at this point. I think it was talking about desolation, because this is where the people were desolate. The land was desolate from the people being destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. Here's another one. So let's look at this here. There were 3 groups of people. Now, what was the first group of people that landed here?
The Jaredites.
The Jaredites, and they landed. They killed themselves off in desolation, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so who was the next group of people to the area?
The Nephites.
No,
wait. It was sorry, brain.
Mulekites, right?
Mulekites. Yes.
Mulekites, because the Mulekites, they came and settled Zarahemla, and then the people of Zarahemla is up here, and the people of Nephi came up and joined them. So the Nephites were actually the 3rd group to the area. So let's read here what it says in Alma 22 verses 30 and 31.
And it bordered upon the land which they called Desolation, it being so far northward that it came into the land which had been peopled and been destroyed, and of whose bones we have spoken, which was discovered by the people of Zarahemla, it being the place of their first landing. And they came from there up into the south. Thus, the land on the northward was called Desolation, the land on the southward was called Bountiful, which, it being the which, is filled with all manner of wild animals of every kind, a part of which had come from the land northward for food.
Okay, so they first landed in Desolation.
Yes. And they found the Jaredites.
And they found the dead Jaredites. They found the dead civilization. It was desolate. There were no trees there. So they're like, okay, we can't stay here, right? So they moved
had
south.
To go south.
Well, here's the narrow neck of land, or, right around here in New York. You can't land a ship here. Now, they say, well, okay, yeah, they traveled up the river, the St. Lawrence River. And now, again, we're talking about a river the size of Niagara. Right? The Niagara Falls. There's this thing called gravity. And as you're traveling up a river, you start to rise uphill. You start to go up in elevation. Yeah. What does gravity want you to do?
Go back down.
Once you go down,
you lose elevation.
You can't get a ship that is seaworthy to travel uphill, because any ship that is seaworthy is going to want to remain as low as elevation as possible. It's going to want to remain on sea level. You're not going to get very far.
You're not going to get very far, because as soon as that low point in the ship strikes the bed of the river, you're done. You can't
Yeah.
move.
Yep. Yeah.
So
yeah, you're gonna hit the bottom of the river first of all, and you can't go uphill. There's no possible way to go up a hill. So this is like miles. I mean, this is over 100 miles that you have to travel uphill, and it's just okay. No, you cannot first land inland.
I don't know why people think this works. It doesn't.
It doesn't. They have their reasons based on what Joseph Smith taught, but he was just sharing his opinion.
Yeah, he's sharing his opinion, and if there's any sort of evidences, it doesn't fit as well as what we're sharing now, as what we're discovering through Diego Duran and the what did you call it? The basically
Xochitl?
Yeah, Xochitl and no, the documents that they shared of these histories that line up with literally the Book of Mormon's events.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, when I first saw that, like, what, it was 6 months ago? You told me about it and you showed me, and I was like, no way. That's crazy, because it lines up perfectly, and it shows exactly what happened to a non-religious group. It was a secular history to those people in their time.
Right. And so here we have
words.
We have the historical evidence on that side, but we also have the Book of Mormon evidence that discredits these other theories, because these other theories don't work. So you can come here and you can first land somewhere around here in Desolation. And Desolation is in this little fertile cradle valley here.
Veracruz.
You can travel south along rivers, and you can find
someplace else.
You can find someplace else. You can travel up. You can travel not too far south and find these areas. So if this is Desolation, it would have been completely desolate. Everybody dead. So you find a place and you go south from there, right?
It's all important to note the Mulekites had boats that weren't necessarily guiding themselves. They were stopped up. They're meant to cross the ocean so that they would make it safely.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not going to really be guiding these. They're going to be landing them and be like, all right, we gotta find something else to do, because we're not going to make it here.
Right. So as it says, they went up from there into the south wilderness. Actually, it says
up
south
into the south. So they were going up
south
to
mountains,
the south, which
they
was
were going up into the mountains,
uphill.
Yeah,
uphill,
up into mountains. Yep.
Where there would have been, more resources for them at the moment.
All right, so let's kind of go over some of these others here.
Okay.
this is the next one is actually really important, because this is the one that just kind of ruins both models here.
All right.
If you read number 4.
So Ether 15.
Yes. So, okay, I got you on. Go to Ether 15.
Ether 15. Millions of the Jaredites. Okay. Verses
8 through 11.
And it came to pass, when he came to the waters of Ripliancon, which by interpretation is large, or to exceed all. Wherefore, when they came to these waters, they pitched their tents. And Shiz also pitched his tents near unto them. And therefore on the morrow they did come to battle. And it came to pass that they fought an exceedingly sore battle, in which Coriantumr was wounded again, and he fainted with the loss of blood. And it came to pass that the size...
Hang on. So Coriantumr is down for the count, right? Is out. He's
out.
He is fainted, loss of blood. He's not going anywhere.
And it came to pass that the armies of Coriantumr did press upon the armies of Shiz, that they beat them, that they caused them to flee before them, and they did flee southward, and did pitch their tents in a place which was called Ogith.
All right, so this is Shiz. Shiz and Coriantumr they're fighting their armies. Coriantumr's knocked out, fainted with the loss of blood. The armies actually win. Coriantumr's armies win, and Shiz now is running. He's going. He's heading south. He's running away.
Strategic retreat.
Now here's the key. Did Coriantumr follow them?
And it came to pass that the army of Coriantumr did pitch their tents by the hill Rama. And it was the same hill where my father Mormon did hide up the records unto the Lord, which were sacred.
Yeah. Now, again, think about this. Coriantumr is out. Did Coriantumr follow Shiz south?
No.
No. Coriantumr's you're not going anywhere.
No, if you've been wounded, you're not engaged in battle. You're on recuperation duty.
And you are not going to follow Shiz's army south. Now, look at this again, because this is key. All right. If we go back to my slide.
Okay.
And the evidence here, it says that it was 1 day's journey south, east-southeast in modern coordinates, of a large body of water. Now, they fought next to the large body of water. Shiz goes south. Does Coriantumr follow him?
No.
No. There is no 1 day's journey south for the armies of Coriantumr. They stayed there, and they pitched their tents right next to Hill Cumorah.
So
Hill Rama. They called it Rama. It's actually called Hill Rama.
Hill Rama. Okay, so I have a general's brain. Let me just go with this for just a short time.
Yeah.
So you lose your general. You have your personal guard. Bring him to the back. Bring him back to where, the post is for all their lieutenants. They're giving commands. They're pressing upon the armies. Shiz and his lieutenants, they call the retreat. They say, we got to get out of here. All right. Strategic retreat. They're going to sacrifice a few of their battalions to hold the line so that everyone else can get out of Dodge. And Coriantumr's army is going to push uphill, literally uphill. This is going to push people into a forced march because Coriantumr and his lieutenants would have known, okay, we want to wipe them out. They are the enemy. This is the period of time that they're trying to literally wipe each other out. So, as they're moving uphill, this is going to run them ragged. They're not going to be able to keep up the chase. Everyone on the other team's like, we're out of here. We got the head start. So they're going to have a little bit more of a lead. They can't chase us down. If they want to stay safe and actually win their next fight, they're not going to be able to continue more than a day's march. So that's how it had to have happened.
And you're not going to follow them with a wounded general.
No. You're gonna the further you get, the more you're gonna have to send runners back if he even recuperated enough to be conscious to give commands. If you fainted with loss of blood, you're not going to be conscious for days.
That's right.
So his lieutenants would have taken command, but they are wanting to protect him because he's important and whatever territory that they're currently contesting, and they're going to stop. Basically, the battle has to kind of like have a small period before it can continue.
So any idea that, okay, they battled up here right next to the Lake Erie and then traveled a day's march south, right there, that goes out the window because Coriantumr stays near the water. He camps near Hill Rama, which is also Hill Cumorah. It's the same hill because it says that it's the same hill where my father kept the plates.
Kept the histories of our people.
Yeah.
The sacred remnants.
So it's the same hill, and it is right next to the water. It's not a day's journey south. Well, that right there, that throws out both of these models here where you have, let's see, sorry, let me go back to right here. Okay.
Yeah.
it's not a day south of the water.
That's north.
Well, the hill is a day south of the ocean. So if they battled here in the ocean somewhere and a day's journey south, it's not south. It is right next to the water where they camped. And then Shiz, he takes his army and he's booking it down south, right? So he's
He
heading
can
down
hide
south.
in the mountains.
He can hide in the mountains. All right. Let's go over a couple of the others at the very end here.
Yeah, running low on time.
Yeah, we don't have much time. So it was in an area of many waters, rivers, and fountains. It was in the presence of fountains. Now, if you remember, Hill Cumorah had a river, a spring running out of it. It had a river coming right out of the hill, right?
Yes. We saw that. It had a spring. There was water coming from the hill.
Yes. So it provided it provided a military advantage. There was an escape route to the south. Let's go back over here. So there's an escape route south. You can head south and you can
head south.
Escape.
Mm-hmm.
All right. It was a hill where you could view hundreds of thousands of bodies. It was a hill. The hill was apparently a significant landmark. The landmark in Hill Chapultepec is a huge landmark and is a sacred place to the Aztecs and the Mexican people. The hill was apparently freestanding, so people could camp around it. We know that from the histories, we know that the Toltecs, they built up walls and they tried to defend it. It's in a temperate area with no record of cold or snow.
Yep.
It's in a volcanic zone. Hill Chapultepec is in a volcanic
caldera. Well. Those ones really hit the nose.
Now, here it again. The land of Cumorah was past the land of desolation. Let's turn to Mormon 3:5 real quick.
All right, Mormon 3:5, got it. Mormon 3:5. And it came to pass that I did cause my people that they should gather themselves together at the land desolation, to a city which was in the borders, by the narrow pass which led into the land southward.
All right, so the desolation, the city or the land of desolation, was right next to the borders of the narrow neck, right?
Yes.
Now turn to the next verse, which is so they defended this city. They defended this area. Turn to the next chapter, Mormon 4, verse 1.
And now it came to pass that in the 363rd year, the Nephites did go up with their armies to battle against the Lamanites out of the land desolation.
Okay. So they held the land of desolation. Now, what happened when the Nephites were driven back? They were driven back again into the land of desolation. And the armies then of the Lamanites then came and
while they were yet weary, a fresh army of the Lamanites had come upon them, and they had a sore battle, insomuch that the Lamanites did take possession of the city desolation and did slay many of the Nephites.
All right. So the Lamanites now, not only do they have all the land southward, they have possession of all the land of desolation, or at least that part of the land of desolation.
Assuming that the city desolation was actually pretty significant territory.
So if you are a general, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're a general,
yeah, bring it back over
and
here.
You're running away now. The Nephites are taking over. The Lamanites are taking over all of the land of desolation. That means they're starting to build up armies, starting to take over up here into desolation, right?
Yeah.
Or if we look at the Sorensen model, so now the Sorensen model says they started to take over the land of desolation here.
So more north of the Isthmus.
Are you going to take your armies and run back into the enemy?
No.
I mean, I'm not the smartest general in the world, but I'm not stupid. I'm not going to take my people and run back into the arms of my enemies. I am going to go, I'm going to go running away. And that's what they did. So Mormon took his armies and he fled to the city of Mexico City and the land of Cumorah, which is not a day's journey south of any waters, rivers, and fountains. It is right smack in the middle of waters, rivers, and fountains. Turn to Mormon 6, verse 4.
And it came to pass that we did march forth to the land of Cumorah, and we did pitch our tents around about the Hill Cumorah, and it was in a land of many waters, rivers, and fountains. And
So,
here we
okay,
had
right
hoped
there.
to gain advantage over the Lamanites.
So where is Hill Cumorah?
In a land of many waters,
It was
rivers, and fountains.
In the land of many waters, rivers, and fountains, not a day's journey south of the waters, rivers, and fountains. It was in the land of many waters, rivers, and fountains. It was right smack in the middle of Lake Texcoco.
The land
Right
of Cumorah.
here. Right
the
here.
Territory of Cumorah.
Tehuantepec is, which is right here, and it makes perfect sense because they're running away from Zarahemla got destroyed down here. They're running to Desolation, which was right here. They got taken over at Desolation, and they're running away. And I'm
gathering all their peoples.
Gathering all their people, and I'm not the smartest general in the world, but I am not going to go back into my enemy's territory. So here we have
That's crazy.
Greatest evidence that we know where Chapultepec is. I mean, where we know where Hill Cumorah is, because this matches every description of the Book of Mormon. And I understand that there's a lot of strong opinions out there. I understand that this is new information, that this is something that nobody's ever talked about or discussed before. But when you read the histories, when you understand and learn what the Book of Mormon says, what you understand what the histories of the Toltecs say,
the etymologies of the words,
the etymologies of the word, etymologies, the Anahuac, the Toltec, they were the followers of Totec, which is Huitzilopochtli, who was Topiltzin, which was Quetzalcoatl, which was Huimek.
The pieces fall in place.
When you look at all of this, there's no other explanation that we have evidence of the Book of Mormon is true. It is my witness that the Book of Mormon is true, that we have a written history of the dealings with God, who is the God over the whole world. He's the God over the entire world. Why do people reject this idea that God wants the entire world to be saved? Why couldn't he come down and visit the Toltecs or the Nephites and give them his gospel? It just doesn't make sense. It's mind-boggling, that Protestants and other people just think that God is just the God of this little tiny corner over here in the world that's called Israel, and he doesn't care about the rest of the world. I am grateful to believe in a God that does care about the entire world, that he cares about the Mesoamerican people as much as he cared about the people in Israel and the Romans and the Gentiles, that he cares about you and I as much as he does the apostles and his disciples back in that day, that he has given us our gospel through the Book of Mormon and through the Bible, both, but they become one in our hand, and they correlate and they match each other. And it's my testimony and my witness that both the Bible and the Book of Mormon are the Word of God.
Amen.
Any final comments or questions?
I want to see that. I want to go through it and visualize the actual history somehow, because that's cool. That's really cool. I'm a fan of ancient history, you know quite well, because it is one of the progressive loves in my life that spawned my imagination and my love for fantasy, and which really also drove me to wanting to understand truth, because history is our legacy from our ancestors. It's our identity, and seeing the identity of the Hispanic people today being verified with things that I grew up with, the religious teachings of the church I grew up with, and the faith that I have in God being verified by secular secular histories and geological data and all the science brought together to make this possible, and Diego Duran and everybody saying, yeah, this is what they told us, and these stories just matching perfectly. It this isn't, anything that could be made up. It can't. It At what point do too many coincidences just mean it's the truth to somebody? And I'm with you. I don't know how people can say one thing to another that this can't be true, because the logic is too perfect. And I bear witness that these things are probably the thing that happened, and it makes sense. And I believe that God trusts everyone on the planet, his children, to learn of him, not just one corner, but everywhere, all people.
Amen. All right. Well, thank you, son. Thanks for
Thanks, Dad.
joining in, and
thanks
we'll see you
everybody
next
else.
week.
We will be happy to visit you next week, Thursday, for another wonderful session of our discussions around the table. Oh,
yeah.
keep blowing our
Upcoming
minds.
Going to be, I want to talk about the problem of evil. I want to talk about the abiogenesis and the science, and
And
lots of
moral
good stuff coming up.
consequences. Moral consequences.
That's right.
All right.
Have a
Thanks,
good one.
everybody. Goodbye.